This video is going to be about the scooter, especially now that I have spent the last 2 months in sort of a capital of scooters, which Southeast Asia is. But before I go any further, make sure to check out my book, give a subscription or a like if you like the video or if you want to follow the channel. So at first, I'd like to say a few words about what not to get. You definitely don't want to get most of what Honda is offering on the lower end. Honda is an excellent motorcycle company. Motorcycles are really more important for them than cars. They make cars as well, and very often with a kind of a motorcycle approach. But these lower end bikes, like these $2,000-$3,000 things, you don't want to get because they are not even Japanese built. This clunky one, PCX, is Japanese built. I see them all over the place in the Far East, but they are just hopelessly ugly. So I don't care what the specs are. The design simply does not measure up to the standards of this channel, so I cannot recommend it. Then there is this one, the ADV. This is actually a quite cool transformer looking bike, and for 150cc it gives you a bigger platform, more like a mid-sized scooter than a small one. But the problem is the rear brakes are drum, and I believe they are mechanical drum, so the technology is really not that great. You don't pay much money, but for about the same price you can get a Suzuki with a much better spec, and I will cover that later on in the video. And here are some more pictures of this. It's a cool looking bike. It's very popular here, probably because you can put 2 people on it. It's not too expensive. It's automatic. All of them are automatic, but the specs are not that great. Check out the rear brake, 130 millimeter drum, and the front is ABS, but you have no ABS or disc in the rear. 300 pounds. So I'm definitely not recommending this. What I do recommend from Honda, definitely the Honda Monkey is the #1 choice, and you can now get it with ABS. Not a lot of money, $4.5K, and you should have no problem reselling it anytime you want to get rid of it. If you keep it in good shape, it's going to command a price even 50 years from now. Just as I see a few of the old Honda Monkeys, the original one, which was not even intended to go on the market. Honda just built this to have a toy at a show, and now they are retroing it because it was so popular. It became a market success because there was such an interest in it, mostly because it's really just a one-person bike, but you can do so much with it for so little cost. It's very easy to maintain. For me, I would choose it over the Vespa because both of them have excellent design, and I will cover the Vespa later on. But the technology is just so much more advanced. The only thing that most people don't like is this ugly plastic. There are custom third-party upgrades that are not difficult to install. So if I had one of these bikes, I would probably be getting one of those. This is a bit of an off-road bike based on the suspension. A lot of people use it for off-roading and going onto country trips and into the mountains and so on, but it's also decent as a city bike, especially given the condition of the current infrastructure, at least in the US. And you get ABS and disc front and rear, so the technology is not lagging behind for a Japanese built product for $4.5K. This is a 125 cc air-cooled motor, and so for the price you really cannot get much more from anybody. You can get lower price stuff, but you get what you paid for. So for high quality Japanese stuff, this is the bottom end, and it's going to have a better resale value than compared to the original price than practically anything. The fuel economy is an astounding 160 miles to the gallon. This is way, way better than most of the others. There is the same engine you can buy as a Honda Gram. This is the Honda Gram. This you can get for a little less. It's only $4,000. I've covered this bike before. It doesn't have the ugly box. That's really nice. And it has a footpeg for a passenger. So this is not exactly a glorious place for a passenger to sit. But if somebody wants to hop on a friend or a girlfriend just for a couple of miles, I think it's tolerable. And that is something the monkey cannot approach, because monkey, it's kind of the same size, but the seat is just not, it does not lend itself to a passenger. And you can outfit the Gram in a variety of ways. See, the ABS is still well under $4,000, but there are other custom kits that you can buy to outfit the bike, and some of those look really good. These are some of the upgrades that you can get, but you can also get trims. Not as much as you used to. Honda does not sell those anymore, but you can get them from third parties. So you can outfit this like a miniature speed bike to look very different from the original trim. So for that, I would endorse it. It's not as gorgeous as the Monkey, but basically the same technology in a cheaper package that has so much third-party support. Don't worry about the Kawasaki teeny tiny 125. I still see a few of those on the roads, but I think it's on the way out. Kawasaki is just not putting any money or effort into renewing it. And here is my favorite for a 200. This is bigger. This is not 125. You get a bit more power with it. And what I like about this, perhaps more than even the technology, as you can see, the price is a little bit more than the Monkey, but you get a lot more displacement, a lot more space, storage. And what I love about it, it looks like the old 650 Bergman, but in a smaller size. It looks almost the same. So you kind of feel like as if you were riding a big thing, even though you do not. It's unfortunate that the Bergman has gone off of the US market, but given that the price of it is now around $17,000, that's really not surprising. Very small wheel bike. The front is 13 inches, the rear is 12. This is in fact smaller than the wheel of a Brompton, but look, you get decent disc brakes front and rear, and that is so important. What I don't like is that none of these new bikes care about embracing modern electronic technologies, such as electronic regenerative braking, which I have had on my bicycle for the last 7 years. So it's really becoming ancient tech, and still even now, none of the gasoline motorcycles have it. So I would go with the Suzuki if you want a small wheel ride around 200. It has a CVT transmission. You don't even need to learn how to shift. The Vespa, I would give it an honorable mention, not really an endorsement, because it's gorgeous bike. And by the way, if you look at all the models, there is a Primavera, I think it's called. There is a more primordial model, this one with the round headlights. Don't get that because the technology is even more outdated than the Sprint. So if you want to get the 150 from them, you want to get the Sprint. And look at the price, it's $6,000. This is way more than even the 200 from the Suzuki. This was the Suzuki 5000 for 200cc, and Vespa is selling you 150 for $6,000. On the other hand, this is even more attractive than the Suzuki. This is really hot looking thing. I thought of getting one in red and setting it up with black dots so that it would look like a ladybug. I think that would be cute. But they have a lot of cool colors. Certainly, what they are selling to you is the design. The fuel economy is kind of underwhelming. It's about 85 miles to the gallon. You get a disc in the front, but the rear is a mechanical drum brake. I mean, that's practically no braking in the rear whatsoever. You get really nice finishing touches, no question about that. And it's still a one-piece steel monocoque body. I think the mudguard in the front for the bigger full-bodied scooters is now made out of plastic. On the small ones, it may still be made of steel. I'm not sure if they have changed that or not. What this steel does is it's going to give you a lot better protection in the event of an accident than this. As much as you get a lot of wind protection here, and you get the windshield included in the price, so there are no aggressive upsells. I would just buy a rear box for it. Over here, the rear box is going to cost you an arm and a leg. The windshield is going to cost you an arm and a leg. But since the whole body is made of steel, if you have one of those full frontal collisions where the corner of a car hits your knee here, you're going to get a lot more protection from the steel than from any of the plastic bodies. Also, the body lasts for a very long time, so they charge you more, but the resale values are excellent. So long that you keep the bike clean and running well, you can resell them for the rest of your life, literally, as a classic. It's never going to be outdated. And here you can see what you pay for everything else. $200 for a box. Every little thing, even this little luggage rack, costs $350. So, and there's more because you can buy a windshield. You can buy everything you want, but I'm not happy about this drum brake. And the performance is not the best. You are going to have to pay for some maintenance, the repairs. The parts are going to be more expensive than with any of the Japanese bikes. So this is a purchase of love. The other Italian bike that used to be a rival to this is the Lambretta, and I'm going to just cover it lightly because it's not on the US market. If you are in Europe, they are already being sold in Europe, and the smaller models are really ugly. They have this big ugly cutout, but the big ones, the 300 and 350, they are gorgeous, and they have a higher performance than even the big bodies Vespas. They have a 350, they have monster tires. It looks almost like a Martian rover. It's a really cool looking bike, but unfortunately none of this is available in the US. I see these in Asia right now. See, this is the small one. I don't like this, the design of the small one, and then the seat is really uncomfortable and flimsy. But the big ones are totally worth some money. It's a gorgeous design. And the rear of it has this huge tail light, which I cannot show you here. But not in the US market, unfortunately. Now, stepping up to the 300. The Lambretta makes some 300s if you are in Europe, if you are in Asia. But Yamaha makes a 300 for the American market as well. In fact, this is the only larger bodied Yamaha that is sold on the US market. As you have noticed, BMW, Suzuki, everybody took off the big 650cc scooters from the market because they are getting really expensive and nobody wants to buy them. At this point, the cheapest of them is over $16,000. To pay that much for a scooter, however big it is, just doesn't make sense for a lot of people. But you can get this for a little over $6K. It's an actual 300cc. You get large disc brakes front and rear. I have owned the Yamaha before. I was totally impressed by the reliability and the sturdiness of the product, even though what I had was much, much smaller than this. It was just a little entry-level scooter. And the design is nice. I really like the design. It has the aggressiveness of a BMW, but the finish is not as nice. Unfortunately, finish of the bike is not quite as cool as a BMW, but you are also not spending as much money. Here are the specs. It's an actual 300. It has a CVT. Some people don't like the CVT. There's more maintenance on it because instead of a chain you have a belt and it doesn't last as long. But 76 miles per hour, per gallon, is not a bad fuel economy. It's better than what you would be getting from the latest Prius model. And it's all ABS, front and rear. Very good sized brakes, front and rear. The front is a 15 and the rear is 14 inches. So these wheels are still smaller than what you would get from a Brompton. Remarkable. I would say this is probably the best choice for a sort of a mid-sized scooter. A larger scooter, you don't want to go for Maxi scooter, which is not even sold in the US anymore. Here's what BMW offers. This is their 400, but look, the price is a lot more. We are approaching $9,000 on this one. It has all the gizmos on it. It is a really nice scooter. I have sat on it in the showroom. I have never ridden on it, but it's very nicely put together. It's all plastic, just like the Yamaha, and it's really a 350. They are calling it a 400, but the actual displacement is only a 350. You get the ABS, you have all the electronic gizmos that you can imagine, electronic connectivity, a very decent warranty for 3 years. If you buy it brand new and you throw it away after three years, then how much did you spend? You spend maybe $3,000 per year. And I doubt that you would have to throw it away after 3 years. You could probably still sell it on the used market for maybe half of what you paid for it. The prices for two-wheelers are going up fast. And this is true of everything from e-bikes to scooters to motorcycles. Cars have not been inflating as much in price as motorcycles and everything on two wheels. BMW has some electrics on the market. They are unremarkable, just like this old one, which is not even on the market anymore. I've seen this tiny one. I didn't even bother to sit on it because this is not going to last. These are just experimental pieces, and they are uncomfortable with short ranges, and that's not what anybody would pay money for. Although I have seen some of them in Bangkok, amazingly. Given that this is a relatively poorer country, apparently some people are still willing to pay close to $10,000 for one of those electrics. With the gasoline bike, what you don't get, once again, is electronic braking, which would be so important. Bikes are just bypassing the whole hybrid revolution, which has been around in cars for 20 years. And I guess they think they are so fuel efficient that they don't need to worry about it. They will just go fully electric, which is going to work to some extent, but I don't think it's helping the market overall. So this is what you get for $8,000. You can get a Vespa wide body for about the same money. It's a 300cc. It's an even nicer design. If you want to go for a Vespa like that, I can't really say not to do it, because you still get 300. It's not that far behind, the BMW, really. It's the same money. You pay $8,000 and you get a 300 and you get better technology. Finally you're getting discs and everything, but there is no included windshield, unlike with the BMW. You get more with the German bike. But then this is made out of steel. It's not made out of plastic. So I guess if you have $8,000 to spend, that this is something you might want to consider. Maybe this is a better deal than the BMW. Also, the wheels are noticeably smaller than the Beamer, so just keep that in mind for urban riding. Given that roads in New York increasingly look like the surface of Mars or the moon. Very nice bike, no denying that. And great resale value, probably better resale value than you would get from a BMW. And finally, what rounds out the list is my eternal favorite, the Goldwing, which is really a motorcycle, but because it is automatic, it has reverse even, it can be used as a scooter. If you can handle something this big, obviously this is a monster 6-cylinder two-wheel car, really. This is not something you want to get on unless you've been on a 400 or 300 for several years and you know what you're doing with regular riding. This is really a luxury item. They cost up to $30,000, some of them even more than that. But you can see that you can get an automatic. You can get an automatic for less than 30K, and you get the back support with the box and everything. So that's probably what I would get. So this is the automatic for $30,000. That's roughly the price of a decently spec'd out brand new Corolla. So I'm not sure if it's worth it for everybody. The engine is, Honda has been making this thing for at least a half a century. So they have ironed out the difficulties. They have had plenty of time to do so. It's a wonderful engine, very smooth running, really not tuned despite its power to accelerate like a Ducati. It's a more gradual acceleration, more of a touring handling, but that's what this bike was designed for, to sit on the highway for hours on end and not, without getting uncomfortable. You're not going to get excellent fuel economy here. You're not saving any money. I mean, this bike is absolutely not about saving any money. Forget about that. I guess it's less of a maintenance hassle, less of a parking hassle in the city as a car, even as an economy car. So it's best for city people who just need something to get out during the summertime to do cruising and not to have too much of a headache parking this thing or storing it over the winter. It's certainly easier to maintain than a car and to park and to store. And there are also some people who don't live in cities, but they just have money they don't know what to do with. So this is going to be the end of the video. I'm giving you these opinions based on having been surrounded by scooters for the last 2 months, and of course having owned a number of them and having ridden them in Manhattan.
I'll be back.